Check out this plant. Beautiful, isn't it? It's a tortoise killer, and I know from personal experience. On this channel, I'm always constantly trying to educate you guys about the truth behind the ecology and also the captive management of turtles and tortoises. Well, this is one way you can be sure that you will kill an animal. And take it from me, because I've been there. Many years ago, when I was just starting out and I didn't know any better, I just thought this looked great. This is rhododendron. I put it in one of my tortoise pens, and guess what? I sadly lost a beloved tortoise. So, in this video, I'm going to show you the plants that I've been able to rely on as safe and edible for my outdoor tortoise pens for nearly 30 years. So rhododendron, that's just one example of a terribly toxic plant for tortoises. They have something in it called granotoxins, and what that does is it actually causes heart failure and it stops proper muscle function. Something like hosta, though, is something that is safe for tortoises, and these are great shade plants. One of the things you're going to want to look into right away is making sure that you get plants that are suitable for shaded areas and plants that are suitable for sunny areas. These guys will burn up in a sunny location. So if you put them in more back areas or areas where there's plenty of shade cover, these will thrive. The tortoises can eat them if they want, and they really are beautiful. Hostas are great too because you can actually split them. So if you get a big one or you're getting one that is actually getting too big, you can go ahead and split it up and transplant it in other areas. And they're so hardy that they come back big, better, and more beautiful each and every year. Azaleas. These are often a huge hit for gardens and home because they get so big and they produce so many flowers. Don't use them. These are also extremely toxic for tortoises. So all of the plants that I'm going to show you in this video, both good and bad, are ones that you can find just about anywhere. I'm at a Lowe's right now, but you can also find them at Home Depot and pretty much any mom and pop garden center. So let's pick another edible one. Succulents, big plus here. You've got sedums, you've got hens and chicks. There's all different types of succulents, so do your research on them, but these are two that are very safe for tortoises. However, they're going to take to them quickly and they will mow them down and completely consume them. So you might want to set them up in areas where you can fence them off and allow them to regrow a little bit after the tortoises damage them. But there you go, beautiful, hardy, and of course edible. Boxwood, another very, very, very popular plant for home and garden. Don't use it for tortoises. There's a lot of substances in these plants that can cause harm and death. So even though they're hardy, big, and robust, no good. Two of my absolute favorites, lavender and spirea. These are both extremely hardy plants. They're edible, and while the tortoises barely will ever touch the lavender, they may go after the spirea. But the good news is, the spirea gets very large and even to a decent height. Some of ours are upwards of 3 feet tall already, and they really kind of conform to what's going on. So if the tortoises eat the lower lying leaves, they'll just kind of grow up and out. And you can also influence their growth by tying them off in certain areas. I absolutely love these. And there's a lot of different varieties that have some beautiful flowers, some being white, some being yellow or even purplish. So two great ones, lavender, spirea. Oh, and the lavender smells awesome. This one is truly unfortunate because they are so beautiful. Don't plant calla lilies. These things are toxic. All parts of them, they contain a high amount of oxalic crystals, and that will very much so harm or even kill your tortoise. But don't worry, because even though you can't plant a beautiful calla lily, you can plant begonias. These are absolutely beautiful, they're hardy, and they can be fed sparingly, which brings up an interesting point. Nothing that we're planting is something that a tortoise should be constantly eating. So by creating that variety and also feeding them a varied diet on top of that, then you're making sure the animals are getting a little bit of this here, a little bit of that there, and you're not forcing the same thing on them all the time. So begonias, good. Another absolute favorite of mine, hibiscus. Both the leaves and the flowers are perfectly edible for your tortoises, and they can basically eat as much of them as they want. There are different types though. Here in New Jersey, we are zone 7B, so we grow the hardy hibiscus that comes back bigger and better every single year. But then there's the tropical type that you would grow in an area like South Florida, for example. So you do want to always look at where you live as to whether or not you need to bring your plants in, or if you want to go with annuals or perennials. Here, we always want to go with perennials because we do have a winter. So there you go. Perfect, awesome food for tortoises. English ivy, another very, very popular plant. It's great for creeping and climbing up things, but it will kill your tortoises. Jacob's ladder, on the other hand, can be fed sparingly. So no and okay. Do we feed ivy?
No.
Why?
Because it's not good.
That's right. 3 extremely popular and beautiful flowering plants right here. We've got petunias, we've got marigolds, and with over 400 different species, we also have geraniums. All 3 of these are safe for your tortoises to eat, but again, they're gonna love them and they're gonna go nuts mowing them down. So make sure you put them in an area or areas where you can fence them in after the tortoises cause some damage, and then they can grow back. And hey folks, I do wanna bring something up here. There's a website called the Tortoise Table, and I will leave a link for them in the description of this video. It's a wonderful website full of an intense amount of knowledge where you can find out what plants are safe to feed in moderation, or not to feed at all. And it also includes fruits and vegetables. And yet here's another beautiful popular flowering plant, the pansy. These are something that tortoises absolutely love to eat. And what you could do is start a garden or get, hanging pots like these and grow them elsewhere so that the tortoises aren't constantly mowing them down. You can pull some off, feed them to the tortoises, and then this way the plant never really gets affected by the tortoises constantly grazing on it. When it comes to species of plant, you can't be blanketing everything. So in other words, you have lilies, right? Some lilies are okay, some lilies are not. Alstroemeria, which is a lily, this is toxic. Do not offer this, don't plant this in your pens. Knockout rose, one of my ultimate favorite plants to use for tortoise pens. And stay tuned, because at the end of this video, I'm gonna give you my top 5 choices for outdoor tortoise keeping. Knockout roses are amazing. They come in various different colors. These are pink. We have yellow ones, pink ones, white ones on our property. They come back huge every single year. They're unbelievable. You can easily trim them, and you can easily separate them and transplant them. And of course, they are in fact edible. Arborvitae, extremely popular, hardy plants that a lot of people use to line their properties in the front and the back. I grew up with these all over my parents' house. They're beautiful, they're immense, and they last forever. But it's uncertain just how toxic they may or may not be for tortoises. It's said that they can cause irritation of the mouth and stomach. So generally you're not going to want to use these, but I have seen people plant these in tortoise pens, and the tortoises seem to leave them alone. Nonetheless, I choose to not use them. Ornamental grasses are one of the absolute best things you can plant in any tortoise enclosure. Not only do they closely mimic a wild tortoise's natural habitat, but they can use them for both shade, cover, creating scrapes in and around them, and also if they want to, they can eat them and they will not be harmed. And I'm going to show you some of the ones that are my absolute favorites. They sure are beautiful, but they are in fact toxic because they have a white latex sap to them. These are Mandevillas. Don't use them for tortoises. And they're also a vine, so they're gonna grow large, big, and they're probably gonna do it pretty quickly. So if you have this and it starts getting out of control, that gives the tortoises more of an advance to accidentally consume it. Of course, all of these garden centers have a vegetable and herbs section, and this can come really in handy too, but you really need to know your plant species because you could be accidentally poisoning your tortoises. Tomato is a prime example of that. The leaves are not safe for tortoises, even though the fruits they can eat, but even though they are safe to eat, they're not good for them. So tomato, not something you should be planting because even the tomato itself, too high in sugar and acid for tortoises. However, strawberry is a much better option. The leaves are perfectly safe for them. They do enjoy them, so they will mow them down. Again, you can fence them in to protect them for a while to get that regrowth. And if they eat the fruit, that's perfectly safe too, as long as it's in moderation. Berries in general are just a safer fruit to offer than something like apples or bananas or peaches. You can, of course, be planting things like the lettuces that they offer here, and they also have kales. While those are safe for the animals to eat, they're not the best choices because they can get hooked on them, and it goes back to that whole supermarket produce thing. But you can pick things like rosemary and thyme, which are perfectly safe, but because of the fragrance to them, the tortoises often don't choose to eat them, so they will continue to live without much protection from yourself. All right, so even though we just showed you quite a few different species of plant, both good and bad for tortoises, it's not a comprehensive list. There's a ton of them out there, which is why a website like the Tortoise Table is gonna really help you guys in understanding all the different options out there, or at least what could be considered the vast majority of them. Here at Garden State Tortoise, we have a very expansive property with a ton of different pens and ponds. So we've gone pretty crazy with everything. But it doesn't have to be that way. So right now, I'm gonna go over my top 5 favorite plant species that you have no worry with when it comes to raising and keeping tortoises outside. And you can also use these for various species of turtle, starting with the knockout rose. Knockout rose is hardy, it's beautiful. As I said, it comes back bigger and better every single year. You can trim it, you can transplant it, you can split it, and the tortoises do appreciate eating those flowers when they fall to the ground. So let's move on to number 4. Mediterranean heather is another one of my top 5 favorites. This is a wonderful plant that's actually a winter bloomer, and it'll get white or pink flowers, little tiny flowers. And you can actually see some of them are still purple here since we're still in, well, I guess we're in early spring kind of still. And the tortoises, this is really natural for them. Sometimes they will eat it, sometimes they won't. It's not their absolute favorite, but it's really nice at replicating some of the habitats, especially Herman's tortoises. And as you can see, well, there's a beautiful Herman's tortoise right there, and she's using this beautiful bush as cover. So she can eat it, or she can use it to her advantage to find refuge and stay secure. Awesome plant, super hardy, and they get to be a pretty decent size. Spirea is number 3. Look at how beautiful and full this plant is. Again, the tortoises love to eat them, but this is the one that I talked about will grow upwards and out, and you can manipulate it if you're noticing that the tortoises are really cleaning up the lower lying branches of this. And once again, it offers refuge, and you can see that right here. Here is a beautiful Libyan tortoise nestled in there now that the heat is pretty high on this day. And they're just awesome and hardy. On to plant number 2, and this one really competed for first place because there's so much good that comes along with it. You'll notice they are in all of our pens here. These are the grasses that I was talking about, particularly maiden and fountain grasses, and there are even dwarf versions of these grasses. They're hardy, they get really big, and they fountain over, which offers tortoises the perfect place to hide and stay cool when the summer gets really hot. And this guy right here is proving my point. This leopard tortoise has been tucked under this grass ever since it got too hot, and once the heat subsides, he will come back out. And just to my right, here's another leopard tortoise cooling off between these 2 grasses, or what looks like 2 grasses. This is just one grass. What he did was, over time, he constantly created a tunnel in between them, and now that's basically permanently there since it's a spot that he chooses to hide in a lot. But that was no problem for this grass because it just grew around him. Why? Because they are so darn hardy and robust. Use them. Maiden and fountain grasses, and there are plenty of other types out there that are safe for your tortoises. Now, without further ado, let me show you my top choice for a plant that's safe for tortoises. Here it is, my number 1 top choice for a live plant that is suitable for tortoises. And this is number 1 because it hits on all points. It is perfectly safe for the tortoises to eat as much as they want of it, and that goes for the leaves and the flowers. It offers cover, it offers shade, it gets huge, and it is unbelievably hardy, coming back bigger, better, and more beautiful each and every year. Now, they may not look like much right now because they don't start flowering for a little while still, but this is them right here, and the tortoises go absolutely nuts over them, and the flowers just keep falling and falling every single day as more come in, and the tortoises can just help themselves to it. We actually like to let our pens grow wild here because there's a lot of benefit to it, so we're not buying everything. We let a lot of that natural ground cover, weeds and flowers come in, and the tortoises can benefit from that by eating that and also staying secure. But you have to pay attention to the native plants in your area, and it's a good way to make sure that your tortoises are safe, because if you can identify plants, you'll be able to notice something if it may or may not be toxic. So I hope you guys enjoyed all the plants that I went over today, and I hope you learned something from it. If you've been going nuts trying to figure out what to put in your tortoise pens, maybe this will clear things up for you. And if you want a closer look at weeds that tortoises can eat, check out this video right here.